My wife Rina thinks I'm stupid. She's probably right about most things, but not about this. Not about the way she's been working late every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 3 months, or how her phone buzzes with messages from work friends at midnight, or how she suddenly started caring about her appearance again after 8 years of marriage. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Joel Carver, 36 years old, and I fix cars for a living. My hands are permanently stained with motor oil, my back aches from bending over engines all day, and my bank account reflects the harsh reality of blue-collar life in this Rust Belt town. But I'm not the fool Rina thinks I am. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and I'm sitting in our cramped living room, scrolling through old photos on my phone. Here's one from our honeymoon in Niagara Falls. Rina laughing, her arms wrapped around my neck, both of us soaked from the mist. Here's another from last Christmas, her smile already starting to look forced, her body language pulling away from mine even in pictures. My phone buzzes. A text from Rina. Another emergency at the district office. Don't wait up and stop calling me every hour. You're being annoying. I stare at the message, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Annoying. 8 years of marriage, and I've become annoying for wanting to talk to my wife. I type back, won't call again, and I mean it. See, here's what Rina doesn't know about her stupid husband. 3 years ago, after she got mugged in the parking lot of her office, I insisted we both install location-sharing apps on our phones. For safety, I said. She agreed because it made her feel secure. She forgot about it within a week. I didn't. I open the app now, and there's Rina's little blue dot, pulsing steadily at the Grandview Hotel downtown. The Grandview, where a basic room costs more than I make in a week, where pharmaceutical reps and regional managers go to impress clients, where my wife is definitely not having a work emergency. I should be angry. I should be heartbroken. Instead, I feel something else entirely. Clarity. For the first time in months, everything makes perfect sense. I grab my keys and head for the door. Time to stop being annoying and start being smart. The drive to the Grandview takes 15 minutes through empty streets. The hotel sits on the corner of 5th and Main, all glass and chrome, designed to make people like me feel small. The valet parking attendant looks at my 10-year-old Ford pickup like it might contaminate the other vehicles. Just visiting someone, I tell him, keeping the truck. The lobby is all marble and mood lighting. The desk clerk, a kid who probably makes more in tips than I do in overtime, barely glances at me as I approach. I'd like a room for tonight, I say. Certainly, sir. We have availability on the 3rd and 7th floors. What about the 5th floor? He checks his computer. We have one room available on 5. The rate is, I'll take it, $240. More than I've ever spent on a hotel room in my life, charged to a credit card that's already stretched thin. But some things are worth the investment. Room 517. I take the elevator up, my heart hammering against my ribs. The hallway is quiet, carpeted in deep burgundy, lit by brass sconces that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. I find my room, slide the key card, and step inside. Then I wait. At 12:23 a.m., I hear voices in the hallway. Rina's laugh, the one she used to save for me, followed by a man's voice I don't recognize. Low, confident, the kind of voice that belongs to someone who's never had to worry about making rent. I crack my door open just enough to see them. Rina looks beautiful. She's wearing the black dress I bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed was too fancy to wear anywhere. Her hair is perfect, her makeup flawless. She looks happier than I've seen her in months. The man with her is tall, well-dressed, probably my age, but carrying himself like someone who's never been told no. He's got his hand on the small of her back, guiding her toward room 523. I pull out my phone and start recording. They stop at her door, because apparently she's the one paying for the room, which explains the recent work expenses on our joint credit card statement. She fumbles with the key card, giggling like a teenager. He leans in close, whispers something that makes her laugh again. I keep recording as she opens the door, as he follows her inside, as the door closes behind them with a soft click that sounds like a gunshot in the quiet hallway. I stop recording and check the video. Clear image, good audio, timestamp visible. Evidence. For a moment, I just stand there in my doorway, holding my phone, listening to the silence of the hotel hallway. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a 30-second video clip. Then I walk to room 523 and knock. The voices inside stop immediately. I can picture them frozen, probably half undressed, trying to figure out what to do. I knock again, harder this time. Room service, I say, in a voice that sounds nothing like mine. More whispered conversation. Then footsteps, and the door opens just wide enough for Rina to peek out. Her face goes white when she sees me. Not pale. White. "Joel," she whispers. "Hey, honey." I push the door open wider, just enough to see into the room. There's a man's suit jacket draped over a chair, a bottle of champagne on the nightstand, 2 glasses. The bed is already turned down. "What are you doing here?" "Checking on my wife. You said you had a work emergency." I hold up my phone, showing her the recording app is still open. "Looks like you're handling it." The man appears behind her, tall, handsome in a generic way, wearing an expensive shirt with the top 2 buttons undone. He looks like every pharmaceutical rep I've ever met, the kind of guy who thinks a firm handshake and a white smile can sell anything. "Who is this?" he asks Rina, like I'm not standing right there. "This is my husband," she says, and I can hear the shame creeping into her voice. "Your husband?" He looks genuinely surprised. "Rina, you told me you were divorced." I almost laugh. Of course she did. Nope, still married, still paying for her health insurance, still splitting the mortgage, still wondering why she's been so tired lately when she gets home from all these work emergencies. "Joel, please," Rina starts, but I hold up my hand. "Don't, just don't." I look at her, really look at her, and for a second I see the woman I married, the woman who used to curl up next to me on Sunday mornings, who used to laugh at my stupid jokes, who used to make me feel like I was worth something. Then I see the black dress, the perfect makeup, the champagne, and that woman disappears. "Check your email in the morning," I tell her. "Both of you." I turn and walk back to my room, leaving them standing in the doorway. Behind me, I hear urgent, whispered conversation, but I don't look back. In my room, I sit on the edge of the bed and compose an email to Rina's district manager, a woman named Patricia Hoffman, who I've met exactly twice at company Christmas parties. Patricia struck me as the kind of person who doesn't tolerate anything that might reflect poorly on the company. The email is simple. "Dear Ms. Hoffman, I thought you should know that my wife, Rina Carver, has been using company funds to rent hotel rooms for personal use. I have documentation if you're interested. Sincerely, Joel Carver." I attach the video, the credit card statements showing the hotel charges categorized as work expenses, and a screenshot of her location at the Grandview during what she claimed was a work emergency. Then I hit send. I walk to the window and look down at the parking lot 5 floors below. A few minutes later, I see a man in an expensive suit hurrying toward a silver BMW. He looks around nervously before getting in, like he's worried someone might be watching. I am watching. I take a picture of him, of his license plate, of his panicked expression as he speeds out of the parking lot. "That's right, run," I say to the empty room. "Run like the discount James Bond you are." My phone buzzes. A text from Rina. "We need to talk." I delete it without responding. We're way past talking now. Friday morning arrives gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I'm at my shop by 6 a.m., 2 hours before we officially open, because I need time to think, and work has always been where I do my best thinking. Carver Automotive isn't much to look at. A converted garage on the edge of downtown, with 2 service bays and an office that doubles as a waiting room. The sign out front is faded, and the parking lot is cracked asphalt, but I own it free and clear, and it keeps food on the table. My business partner Mick arrives at 7, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing his usual expression of amused skepticism. Mick Rodriguez is 42, built like a linebacker, and has the kind of street smarts that come from growing up in the rough part of town. "You look like hell," he says, handing me a coffee. "Feel worse." I take a sip. It's strong enough to strip paint, exactly how I like it. "Rina still working those late nights?" Mick has never liked my wife. He's never said so directly, but I can tell by the way his jaw tightens whenever she comes around the shop, by the way he finds excuses to be somewhere else when she starts talking about her career and her ambitions and how she's destined for bigger things than this small town. "Not anymore," I say, and something in my tone makes him look at me sharply. "What happened?" I tell him everything: the hotel, the video, the email to her boss. Mick listens without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. "Jesus, Joel, I'm sorry." "Don't be. I'm done being sorry." I pull out my phone and show him the video. I'm done being the understanding husband who pretends not to notice when his wife treats him like garbage. Mick watches the video, his face grim. "What's your next move?" "First, I'm protecting myself financially. We have joint accounts, joint credit cards, a joint mortgage. She could clean me out if she wanted to." "Smart. What do you need me to do?" This is why I trust Mick. No judgment, no lectures about trying to work things out, no suggestions that maybe there's been some misunderstanding. Just practical support. "Help me move money around. I need to make sure she can't destroy me financially while I'm figuring out my next step." We spend the next hour on the phone with banks and credit card companies. I move half our savings into an account with only my name on it. I remove Rina as an authorized user on my credit cards. I document everything, taking pictures of statements and recording confirmation numbers. "You should probably talk to a lawyer," Mick says as we're finishing up. "Can't afford one. Not yet." I lean back in my chair, suddenly exhausted. Besides, I don't want a divorce. I want her to understand what she's done. I want her to feel what I felt standing in that hotel hallway. Revenge. Justice. Mick grins, and it's not a pleasant expression. I like it. What else can I do? Before I can answer, my phone buzzes with a call from Rina. I decline it. Then another call. Decline. Then a text. "Joel, please answer. We need to talk about this." I show Mick the text. She's panicking. Good. Let her panic. The morning passes quickly. We have 3 cars to work on, routine maintenance mostly, and the familiar rhythm of work helps clear my head. Around 11, Mrs. Gertz from the neighborhood grocery store stops by to pick up her ancient Buick. Mrs. Gertz is 73 years old and knows everything about everyone in a 6-block radius. She's the kind of woman who remembers your birthday, brings you soup when you're sick, and somehow always knows when your marriage is falling apart before you do. "How's Rina doing, dear?" she asks, while I'm writing up her receipt. "She's fine, Mrs. Gertz. Busy with work." "Oh, I'm sure she is." There's something in her tone that makes me look up. I saw her at the Grandview Hotel yesterday evening when I was visiting my sister in the hospital across the street. She looked very dressed up for a work meeting. My pen stops moving. "You saw her?" "Around midnight. She was with a very handsome man, not you, of course. They seemed quite friendly." Mrs. Gertz has the expression of someone who's just delivered exactly the information she intended to deliver. She's not gossiping. She's informing me that other people know that my wife's affair isn't as secret as she thinks it is. "I see," I say carefully. "These things have a way of getting around, dear, especially in a town this size." She pats my arm gently. "If there's anything I can do to help..." Actually, there is something. I lean closer, lowering my voice. "If anyone asks about what you saw, feel free to tell them. I think people should know the truth." Her eyes light up with understanding. Of course, dear. The truth is very important. After she leaves, Mick shakes his head admiringly. You just weaponized the neighborhood gossip network. Mrs. Gertz isn't gossip. She's information distribution. My phone rings again. Rina. I let it go to voicemail, then play the message on speaker. Joel, I know you're angry, but you need to call me back. Patricia called me into her office this morning and she had questions about my expense reports. I don't know what you told her, but we need to get our stories straight before this gets out of hand. Please call me. Mick and I look at each other. Our stories? He says. Apparently we're a team now. The phone rings again immediately. This time I answer. What do you want, Rina? Thank God. Joel, listen to me. I can explain everything about last night. I'm sure you can. You've always been good with explanations. Don't be sarcastic. This is serious. Patricia is asking questions about my hotel expenses, and I need to know exactly what you told her. I told her the truth, that my wife has been using company money to rent hotel rooms for her personal affairs. You bastard! You're trying to destroy my career? I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just making sure people know who you really are. Joel, please, we can work this out. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake, and I'm sorry. But if you destroy my job, you destroy both of us. We need my income. We needed your marriage vows too, but that didn't stop you. Don't you dare take the moral high ground with me. You've been distant and cold for months. You never talk to me. You never show any interest in my life or my career. What did you expect? I expected my wife not to screw other men in hotel rooms paid for with our joint credit card. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, I want to come home. We need to talk about this face to face. I changed the locks. You what? I changed the locks, Rina. You don't live there anymore. You can't do that. It's my house too. Actually, I can. The mortgage is in my name. You're not on the deed. Another silence, longer this time. When she speaks again, her voice is different, harder, more calculating. Fine. If that's how you want to play this, I'll get a lawyer. I'll take half of everything, including your precious garage. Good luck with that. You might want to focus on keeping your job first. I hang up and turn off my phone. Damn, Mick says. You're really doing this. She made the choice when she put on that black dress and met him at the hotel. I'm just dealing with the consequences. What's next? I walk over to the security monitor that shows the feed from our parking lot cameras. The system records everything, storing footage for 30 days before automatically deleting it. I've been meaning to upgrade it, but now I'm glad I haven't. Help me go through the security footage from the past 3 months, I tell Mick. I want to see if our friend from the hotel has been here before. We spend the next hour fast-forwarding through weeks of footage. Most of it is boring. Customers coming and going, delivery trucks, the occasional stray cat. But then, on a Tuesday afternoon 6 weeks ago, I see it. A silver BMW pulls into our parking lot. A man gets out. Tall, well-dressed, definitely the same guy from the hotel. He walks to the office, stays for about 10 minutes, then leaves. Rina's car is in the parking lot during this time. Snake, Mick mutters. She brought him here. We find 2 more instances over the following weeks. Same car, same man, always when Rina was supposedly stopping by to check on things or grab lunch. She was flaunting it, I say, staring at the screen, bringing him to my business, introducing him to my life. What are you going to do with this? I copy the footage to a flash drive, along with the hotel video and all the financial documentation. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who Rina Carver really is. Including her boyfriend? Especially her boyfriend. I think it's time Mr. Pharmaceutical Rep learned what happens when you mess with someone else's marriage. My phone, still turned off, sits silent on the desk. But I can imagine the messages piling up, from Rina, maybe from her boss, possibly from a lawyer if she's moved that fast. Let them pile up. I'm done reacting to other people's schedules and demands and emergencies. For the first time in months, I'm setting the agenda. Saturday night, and I'm sitting in Murphy's bar on the south side of town, nursing a beer and watching the door. Murphy's isn't the kind of place pharmaceutical reps usually frequent. It's a working-class dive with sticky floors, a jukebox that only plays country music, and a clientele that includes mechanics, factory workers, and the occasional off-duty cop. It's also exactly the kind of place where a man might go to drink alone after his world falls apart. I've been here for an hour, making one beer last, when Detective Ray Garrison slides onto the bar stool next to me. Ray is 50-something, gray-haired, and built like someone who's spent 30 years dealing with the worst humanity has to offer. He was my father's friend back when Dad was still alive, and he's kept an eye on me ever since. "Heard you've been having some trouble at home," he says without preamble. News travels fast in a small town, especially when Mrs. Gertz is involved in the distribution network. "Nothing I can't handle." "Uh-huh." Ray orders a whiskey. Neat. "Also heard you might be planning to handle it in ways that could get you in trouble." I look at him. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've seen what happens when good men get pushed too far by cheating wives. Sometimes they make decisions that ruin the rest of their lives." "I'm not planning to hurt anyone, Ray." "I know you're not. But hurt comes in different forms. Some of them legal, some of them not." He takes a sip of his whiskey. "Just remember that revenge has a way of costing more than you expect to pay." Before I can respond, the door opens and my target walks in. Evan Lorne. I've done my research since Thursday night. 34 years old, pharmaceutical sales rep for Medcore Industries, drives a leased BMW, lives in the upscale Riverside development, and apparently has a taste for other men's wives. He looks around Murphy's like he's stepped into a foreign country, which I suppose he has. His clothes are too expensive, his shoes too clean, his posture too confident for a place like this. He spots me immediately. I'm not exactly hiding, and his face goes pale. But to his credit, he walks over instead of running. "You're Joel," he says. "And you're the homewrecker. Drink?" He looks around nervously, taking in the curious stares from the other patrons. Murphy's isn't used to his type, and everyone knows it. "We should talk," he says. "That's why I'm here." I gesture to the empty stool on my other side, away from Ray, who's pretending not to listen while obviously listening to every word. Evan sits down reluctantly. "Look, I want you to know that I didn't know Rina was married when we first met." "When was that?" "About 3 months ago. I was calling on her office, routine sales visit, and we started talking. She mentioned she was recently divorced, said she was ready to start dating again." "Recently divorced." I take a sip of my beer. "That's interesting, since we're still very much married." "I found that out Thursday night when you showed up at the hotel. I was as shocked as you were." Somehow I doubt that. Evan orders a beer he doesn't want, just to have something to do with his hands. I ended it immediately. I called her Friday morning and told her I couldn't see her anymore. "How noble of you." "I don't mess around with married women. That's not who I am." I turn to look at him directly. "But you do mess around with women who lie about being divorced. You do take them to expensive hotels and let them pay for it with their husband's credit card. You do sneak around behind someone's back for 3 months. I thought she was divorced. Did you? Or did you just not ask too many questions because she was attractive and available and willing?" Evan doesn't answer, which is answer enough. "Here's what's going to happen," I continue, keeping my voice low and calm. "You're going to stay away from my wife. You're not going to call her, text her, email her, or accidentally run into her. If I see you anywhere near her, anywhere near my business, or anywhere near my neighborhood, we're going to have a different kind of conversation." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm explaining consequences. There's a difference." Ray clears his throat softly, a warning. I ignore him. "I could make this very complicated for you, Evan. I could call your boss at Medcore and explain how their sales rep has been conducting personal business on company time. I could post that hotel video on social media and tag your company's Facebook page. I could make sure everyone in your professional network knows exactly what kind of man you are. Evan's face goes from pale to gray. You wouldn't. Try me. We sit in silence for a moment. Around us, the normal sounds of Murphy's continue, pool balls clicking, the jukebox playing something mournful, conversations about work and sports and life. Finally, Evan speaks. What do you want? I want you to disappear from my wife's life completely. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. And I want you to remember this conversation every time you're tempted to get involved with someone else's marriage. Fine, done. I'll stay away from her. Good. I finish my beer and stand up. Oh, and Evan? Next time you want to have an affair, maybe don't do it in a town where everyone knows everyone. Small places have long memories. I drop a 20 on the bar and head for the door. Behind me, I hear Ray saying something to Evan in a low voice, probably reinforcing my message with the weight of official authority. Outside, the night air is cold and sharp. I walk to my truck, feeling better than I have in days. One problem handled, cleanly and without violence. My phone, which I finally turned back on, shows 17 missed calls from Rina and a dozen text messages. I scroll through them quickly. Panic, anger, pleading, threats, more panic. The progression of someone watching their carefully constructed lies fall apart. The last message, sent an hour ago, is different. I know you're at Murphy's. We need to talk. I'm coming over. I look up and see her car pulling into the parking lot. Rina gets out slowly, like she's approaching a dangerous animal. She's dressed down tonight, jeans, sweater, minimal makeup, trying to look like the woman I married instead of the woman she's become. Joel, she says as she approaches. Rina. Can we talk? Please? We're talking now. I mean really talk. About us, about what happened, about how we fix this. There's nothing to fix. You made your choice. It wasn't a choice. It was a mistake. A stupid, terrible mistake that I regret completely. Which part do you regret? The lying, the cheating, or getting caught? She flinches. All of it. I regret all of it. Do you regret telling him you were divorced? Do you regret bringing him to my business? Do you regret using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms where you could screw him? Stop it. Do you regret the black dress I bought you for our anniversary? The one you said was too fancy to wear anywhere? Apparently it was just too fancy to wear with me. Joel, please. Do you regret 8 years of marriage, Rina? Because that's what you threw away for 3 months with a pharmaceutical rep who dumped you the second things got complicated. She's crying now, real tears, not the calculated kind she uses when she wants something. I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you. And we can get through this. No, we can't. Why not? People get past affairs all the time. We can go to counseling, because I don't love you anymore. The words hang in the cold air between us. I hadn't planned to say them, but as soon as they're out, I know they're true. You don't mean that. I do. I loved the woman I married, but she's gone. You eliminated her when you put on that dress and met him at the hotel. You buried her when you lied to me, lied to him, and lied to yourself about what you were doing. I can change. I can be that woman again. No, you can't. Because that woman would never have done what you did. Rina stares at me, and I can see the exact moment she realizes I'm serious. Her expression changes, hardening, the mask slipping back into place. Fine, she says. If that's how you want it, fine. But don't think you're going to destroy my life without consequences. I'll fight back, Joel. I'll fight for everything. Good luck with that. You might want to focus on keeping your job first. What's that supposed to mean? It means Patricia Hoffman has been asking questions about your expense reports, and she's not satisfied with your answers. It means the hotel receipts don't match your explanations. It means your career is hanging by a thread, and that thread is getting thinner every day. Rina's face goes white. You bastard! You're really trying to destroy everything. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just making sure people know the truth. She turns and walks back to her car without another word. I watch her drive away, taillights disappearing into the darkness. Back inside Murphy's, Ray is still at the bar. Evan is gone. How'd that go? Ray asks as I sit back down. About as well as expected. You know this isn't over, right? She's going to escalate. People like her always do when they're cornered. Let her escalate. I'm ready. Ray studies my face in the dim light of the bar. I hope you know what you're doing, son. For the first time in months, I know exactly what I'm doing. But even as I say it, I can feel the truth of Ray's warning settling in my chest. This is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. Monday morning brings the first real escalation. I'm opening the shop when my phone rings. Patricia Hoffman, Rina's district manager. Mr. Carver, this is Patricia Hoffman from Medcore Retail Solutions. I need to speak with you about the email you sent regarding your wife. Good morning, Ms. Hoffman. What would you like to know? I need to verify the information you provided. You stated that Rina has been using company funds for personal expenses. Can you substantiate that claim? I walk into my office and pull out the folder I've prepared. I have credit card statements showing hotel charges that were categorized as business expenses, along with video evidence showing that these charges were for personal use. Video evidence? My wife was conducting an extramarital affair. The hotel room she charged to the company card was used for that purpose, not for business. Silence on the other end. Then, Mr. Carver, I need to ask, are you going through a divorce? Is this part of a custody or financial dispute? No divorce proceedings have been filed. I'm simply providing information that I believe the company should have. I see. Can you email me the documentation you mentioned? I can, but I'd prefer to deliver it in person. This is sensitive material. That would be appropriate. Can you come in this afternoon? Say, 2 o'clock? I'll be there. After I hang up, Mick looks up from the engine he's working on. That sounded official. Rina's boss wants to see the evidence. You really think they'll fire her? I think they'll do whatever protects the company. If Rina's been falsifying expense reports, that's fraud. Companies don't tolerate fraud. My phone buzzes with a text from Rina. I know what you're doing. Stop this now or you'll regret it. I show the message to Mick. She's getting desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. As if to prove his point, Rina's car pulls into our parking lot 20 minutes later. She gets out and marches toward the office, her face set in hard lines. Joel, she shouts as she pushes through the door. We need to talk right now. I'm working. I don't care what you're doing. You need to call Patricia and tell her you made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. You're destroying my career over a personal issue. That's not fair, and it's not right. I look up from the invoice I'm writing. What's not right is using company money to pay for your affair. It was 1 hotel room. It was 3 hotel rooms over 2 months, plus dinner charges, plus bar charges, all categorized as business expenses. I stand up and face her. I've seen the statements, Rina. I know exactly how much you spent. Those were legitimate business expenses. Really? So when you met Evan Lorne at the Grandview Hotel last Thursday night, that was a business meeting? She opens her mouth to respond, then closes it. Behind me, I can hear Mick's tools go quiet as he stops working to listen. I want my things from the house, she says finally. What things? My clothes, my personal items, my jewelry. I'll pack them up and drop them off wherever you're staying. I want to get them myself. Not happening. They're my belongings, Joel. You can't keep me from my own property. I'm not keeping you from anything. I'm just not letting you into my house. It's our house. No, it's my house. The deed is in my name, the mortgage is in my name, and I'm the one who's been making the payments while you've been spending our money on hotels. Rina's face flushes red. Fine. I'll get a lawyer and force you to let me in. Good luck with that. You might want to make sure you still have a job to pay for the lawyer first. She stares at me for a long moment, and I can see her calculating, trying to figure out her next move. Finally, she turns and storms out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Jesus, Mick says. She's really losing it. She's realizing that actions have consequences. She's not used to that. At 2 o'clock, I'm sitting in Patricia Hoffman's office in the MedCorp building downtown. Patricia is a woman in her 50s, professionally dressed, with the kind of no-nonsense demeanor that comes from managing difficult people for decades. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Carver. I've reviewed the materials you sent, and I have some questions. Of course. First, I need to understand your motivation for bringing this to my attention. Are you seeking some kind of revenge against your wife? I'm seeking accountability. If one of your employees is falsifying expense reports, that's something you should know about. The hotel charges in question, you're certain they were personal in nature? I slide the flash drive across her desk. The video on there shows my wife entering a hotel room with a man who is not her husband, at the same hotel and on the same date as one of the charges she submitted as a business expense. Patricia inserts the flash drive into her computer and watches the video. Her expression doesn't change, but I see her jaw tighten slightly. And you're certain this man is not a business associate? His name is Evan Lorne. He's a pharmaceutical sales rep, but he doesn't work for any company that does business with your retail division. I've verified that. I see. She ejects the flash drive and hands it back to me. Mr. Carver, I want you to understand that this puts the company in a difficult position. We take expense report fraud very seriously, but we also have to be careful about getting involved in personal disputes. I understand, but the fraud happened regardless of the personal circumstances. That's true. She leans back in her chair. I'll need to conduct a full investigation before taking any action. That will include interviewing Rina and reviewing all of her expense reports for the past 6 months. That's all I can ask for. Mr. Carver, I have to ask, what do you hope to accomplish here? Even if we determine that Rina violated company policy, that doesn't solve your marital problems. I'm not trying to solve my marital problems. I'm trying to make sure she faces the consequences of her choices. Patricia studies my face. Be careful, Mr. Carver. Revenge has a way of consuming the people who pursue it. It's the second time in 3 days someone has warned me about revenge. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should be more careful. But as I drive back to the shop, I don't feel like being careful. I feel like finishing what Rina started. My phone rings as I'm pulling into the parking lot. Unknown number. Joel Carver. Mr. Carver, this is David Chen, attorney at law. I'm calling on behalf of your wife, Rina Carver. So she wasn't bluffing about the lawyer. What can I do for you, Mr. Chen? I understand there's been some kind of dispute regarding access to the marital home. My client would like to retrieve her personal belongings. She can have her belongings. I'll pack them up and deliver them anywhere she wants. She'd prefer to collect them herself. That's not going to happen. Mr. Carver, I should inform you that your wife has legal rights to the marital home, regardless of whose name is on the deed. Then file a motion, and we'll let a judge decide. Until then, she's not getting into my house. There's no need for this to become adversarial. Surely we can work out some reasonable arrangement. Here's a reasonable arrangement. She can pick up her stuff from wherever I drop it off, and she can stay away from me, my home, and my business. Mr. Carver, I hang up. Inside the shop, Mick is grinning. Lawyer? Lawyer. That was fast. She's panicking. Her boss is investigating her expense reports. Her boyfriend dumped her, and she's got nowhere to live. She's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. What's your next move? I think about Patricia Hoffman's warning, about Ray's concern, about the lawyer's veiled threats. Everyone seems to think I should be more careful, more reasonable, more willing to compromise. But Rina wasn't careful when she decided to have an affair. She wasn't reasonable when she used our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms. She wasn't willing to compromise when she chose Evan Lorne over 8 years of marriage. My next move is to make sure everyone knows exactly who Rina Carver really is, I tell Mick, starting with her new lawyer. I pull out my phone and start typing an email to David Chen. It includes the hotel video, the expense report documentation, and a detailed timeline of Rina's affair. Consider this background information on your new client, I write. You might want to ask her about the fraud investigation before you threaten me again. Then I hit send and wait for the fireworks to begin. The fireworks don't take long to start. By Wednesday morning, 3 things have happened that tell me Rina's world is collapsing faster than she can manage. First, her lawyer calls and leaves a voicemail that's notably less aggressive than our previous conversation. Mr. Carver, after reviewing the additional information you provided, I think it would be beneficial for all parties if we could arrange a meeting to discuss a reasonable resolution to this matter. Second, Mrs. Gertz stops by the shop with fresh intelligence from the neighborhood network. That pharmaceutical fellow was at Rina's apartment complex yesterday evening, but she wouldn't let him in. Quite a scene in the parking lot from what I heard, lots of shouting. Third, and most satisfying, Patricia Hoffman calls to inform me that Rina has been placed on administrative leave pending the completion of their investigation. We found discrepancies in her expense reports going back 4 months, Patricia explains. The hotel charges were just the beginning. There are restaurant bills, bar tabs, even a weekend trip to Chicago that she claimed was for a retail conference that doesn't exist. What happens now? We'll complete our investigation and make a determination about her employment status. I wanted to thank you for bringing this to our attention. Expense report fraud is a serious matter. After I hang up, I allow myself a moment of satisfaction. Rina thought she was smart enough to steal from her company while cheating on her husband. She was wrong on both counts, but my satisfaction is short-lived because my phone immediately rings again. This time it's Ray Garrison. Joel, we need to talk. Can you meet me at Murphy's tonight? What's wrong? Just meet me there. 8 o'clock. Ray's tone tells me this isn't a social call. Something has happened, something that requires an off-the-record conversation in a bar instead of an official discussion at the police station. I spend the rest of the day distracted, wondering what Ray wants to discuss. Mick notices my mood and keeps the conversation light, but I can tell he's concerned too. At 8 o'clock, I'm back at Murphy's, sitting in the same spot where I confronted Evan Lorne less than a week ago. Ray arrives 10 minutes later, looking grim. We have a problem, he says without preamble. What kind of problem? The kind where your wife filed a police report claiming you've been stalking and harassing her. I stare at him. That's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. But she's got a lawyer now, and the lawyer is pushing hard for a restraining order. Based on what? Based on her claim that you've been following her, that you've made threatening phone calls, and that you've enlisted other people to spy on her and report back to you. I think about Mrs. Gertz and her intelligence reports, about my confrontation with Evan, about the email I sent to Patricia Hoffman. None of it is stalking or harassment, but I can see how a good lawyer might spin it that way. What did you tell them? I told them I'd look into it, but Joel, you need to be smart about this. She's building a case that you're the bad guy here, that you're using intimidation and harassment to punish her for wanting a divorce. She doesn't want a divorce. She wants to avoid the consequences of her affair. That's not how her lawyer is going to present it in court. Ray orders his usual whiskey and takes a long sip before continuing. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, she's going to request a temporary restraining order. If the judge grants it, you won't be allowed within 500 feet of her, her workplace, or her apartment. Can they do that? They can try. The standard for a temporary restraining order is pretty low, just a credible claim that someone feels threatened, and with a lawyer making the argument. So what do? You stop. Right now, tonight, you stop everything you've been doing. No more emails to her boss, no more confronting her boyfriend, no more neighborhood intelligence gathering. You go back to your normal life and you let the lawyers handle everything else. I know Ray is right. I know I'm walking a line that's getting thinner every day. But the thought of stopping now, when Rina is finally facing real consequences for her actions, makes my stomach turn. She destroyed our marriage, I say. She stole from her company. She lied to everyone, including the man she was cheating with. Why should I be the one who has to back down? Because you're not her, Joel. Because you're better than this. And because if you keep pushing, you're going to end up in jail while she ends up looking like the victim. Before I can respond, the door to Murphy's opens and Evan Lorne walks in. He looks around nervously, spots me at the bar, and walks over with the determined expression of someone who's made a decision he's not entirely comfortable with. "We need to talk," he says. Ray looks at me, then at Evan, then back at me. "I'll give you boys some privacy." He moves to a table across the room, far enough away to avoid hearing our conversation but close enough to intervene if things get out of hand. "What do you want, Evan?" "I want this to stop." "This?" "The harassment, the threats, the constant pressure." I turn to face him fully. "What harassment? What threats?" "Rina told me you've been calling her, following her, trying to destroy her life. Rina's been lying to you from the beginning. Why would you believe her now?" "Because she's scared, Joel. Really scared. And whatever you think she did to you, she doesn't deserve to be terrorized." I feel something cold settle in my chest. Terrorized? The emails to her boss, the confrontation at her apartment, the lawyer harassment. She's barely sleeping, barely eating. She's falling apart. Good. The word comes out harsher than I intended, but I don't take it back. Evan stares at me like he's seeing me clearly for the first time. Jesus Christ. You really want to destroy her. I want her to understand what she did. I want her to face the consequences of her choices. I want her to feel what I felt when I found out my wife had been lying to me for months. So this is revenge. This is justice. No, this is revenge, and it's turning you into someone you're not. I look at Evan, really look at him. He's genuinely concerned about Rina, genuinely worried about her well-being. Part of me wants to hate him for that, but another part of me recognizes something I used to feel myself. You still care about her, I say. Of course I care about her. I may not be able to be with her, but I don't want to see her destroyed. She destroyed herself when she decided to have an affair. Maybe. But you're the one choosing to keep destroying her now. We sit in silence for a moment. Around us, Murphy's continues its normal rhythm, pool games, quiet conversations, the jukebox playing something mournful. Finally, Evan speaks again. What would it take for you to stop? Stop what? All of it. The harassment, the pressure, the systematic destruction of her life. What would it take for you to just let her go? I think about the question seriously. What would it take? An apology, a confession? Some acknowledgement of what she'd done to our marriage? It's too late for that, I say finally. She made her choice when she put on that black dress and met you at the hotel. Everything that's happened since then is just the natural consequence of that choice. So there's nothing? No way to end this? She could try telling the truth for once. She could stop playing the victim and take responsibility for what she did. And if she did that, then we'd see. Evan nods slowly, like he's filing away information for later use. I'm going to ask you one more time to stop this. Not for her sake, but for yours. This isn't who you want to be, Joel. How do you know who I want to be? Because I've seen what revenge does to people. It consumes them. It turns them into something ugly and bitter and alone. He stands up and drops a 20 on the bar. Think about it, before you lose yourself completely. After he leaves, Ray comes back over. Interesting conversation? He wants me to stop. Smart man, you should listen to him. You think I'm wrong? Ray considers the question carefully. I think you're hurt. and I think you're angry, and I think you have every right to be both. But I also think you're at a crossroads, and the choice you make now is going to determine what kind of man you are for the rest of your life. What choice? Whether you're the kind of man who gets his revenge and moves on, or the kind of man who lets revenge consume him until there's nothing left but bitterness and regret. I finish my beer and stand up. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Joel, thanks for the warning about the restraining order. I'll be ready for it. I leave Murphy's and drive home through empty streets, thinking about Evan's words, about Ray's warning, about the choice I'm facing. By the time I reach my house, not our house, I've made my decision. Rina wants to play victim? Fine. But she's going to do it in front of everyone who knows the truth about what she really is. Tomorrow, this ends. One way or another. Thursday morning arrives gray and cold, matching the mood that settled over me like a heavy coat. I'm at the courthouse by 8 a.m., waiting for Rina's restraining order hearing. I've brought my own folder of evidence, not to fight the restraining order, but to make sure the judge knows exactly what kind of person is asking for protection. Rina arrives with her lawyer, David Chen, at 8:30. She's dressed conservatively, playing the role of the frightened wife, but I can see the calculation in her eyes as she scans the hallway. She's looking for supporters, for witnesses, for anyone who might help her case. She finds none. Word has gotten around about her affair, about the expense report fraud, about the lies she told everyone. The neighborhood network that Mrs. Gertz manages so efficiently has done its work. Mr. Carver, David Chen approaches me with professional courtesy. I was hoping we could discuss a resolution before we go before the judge. I'm listening. My client is willing to withdraw the restraining order request if you agree to cease all contact and interference with her life. Define interference. No more emails to her employer, no more confrontations with her associates, no more surveillance or harassment of any kind. I look past him to where Rina is sitting on a bench, staring at her hands. She looks smaller than I remember, diminished somehow. What about the truth? I ask. What about it? Is she willing to tell the truth about what she did? About the affair? About the stolen money? About the lies she told everyone? Chen glances back at his client. Mr. Carver, we're not here to relitigate your marriage. We're here to establish boundaries for moving forward. That's not good enough. Before Chen can respond, the bailiff calls our case. We file into the courtroom, a small, windowless room with fluorescent lighting and worn carpet. Judge Margaret Torres presides, a woman in her 60s with the tired expression of someone who's seen every variation of human stupidity. Chen presents Rina's case efficiently. She's a victim of harassment by an angry husband who can't accept that their marriage is over. He's enlisted others to spy on her. He's interfered with her employment. He's made threats against her and her associates. It's a compelling narrative, and Chen tells it well. If I didn't know the truth, I might believe it myself. When it's my turn to respond, I stand up and place my folder on the podium. Your Honor, I'd like to present evidence that Mrs. Carver's claims are not accurate. Judge Torres looks skeptical. Mr. Carver, this is a hearing for a temporary restraining order, not a trial. The standard is whether your wife has a reasonable fear for her safety. I understand, Your Honor, but I believe the evidence shows that Mrs. Carver is using this court to avoid the consequences of her own criminal behavior. Criminal behavior? I open my folder and remove the hotel video, the expense report documentation, and the timeline I've prepared. Mrs. Carver has been conducting an extramarital affair and using her company's credit card to pay for it. That's fraud, Your Honor. Everything I've done has been to expose that fraud, not to harass her. Judge Torres reviews the documents quickly. Her expression doesn't change, but I see her pause when she reaches the hotel video. Mrs. Carver, she says finally, are you currently under investigation by your employer for expense report irregularities? Rina looks at her lawyer, who nods reluctantly. Yes, Your Honor, but that's a separate matter. Is it? Judge Torres cuts her off. Mr. Carver, have you made any direct threats against your wife? No, Your Honor. Have you attempted to contact her directly since she moved out of the marital home? Only when she contacted me first. Have you physically followed or surveilled her? No, Your Honor. Judge Torres looks back at Rina. Mrs. Carver, your husband's actions, while perhaps morally questionable, appear to be focused on exposing what he believes to be criminal fraud. That's not harassment in the legal sense. But Your Honor, Chen starts. Mr. Chen, your client committed adultery and possibly fraud. Her husband exposed both. That may be unpleasant for your client, but it's not grounds for a restraining order. The gavel comes down with a sharp crack. Request denied. Outside the courthouse, Rina is crying. Real tears this time, not the calculated kind. Chen is on his phone, probably trying to figure out his next move. I should feel satisfied, but instead I just feel empty. Joel. I turn around. Rina has approached me, her lawyer nowhere in sight. Can we talk? Please? Just for a minute? Against my better judgment, I nod. We walk to a quiet corner of the courthouse steps. Rina sits down heavily like she's carrying a weight too heavy to bear. I'm sorry, she says quietly. For which part? All of it. The affair, the lies, the money. All of it. I study her face, looking for signs of manipulation, but all I see is exhaustion. Why, Rina? Why did you do it? She's quiet for a long time. When she finally speaks, her voice is barely above a whisper. Because I was unhappy, and I was scared, and I convinced myself that I deserved something better. Better than what? Better than our life. Better than the house, the town, the future we were building together. I wanted something more exciting, more glamorous. She looks up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I wanted to feel special again. You were special. To me. I know. And I threw it away for someone who dumped me the second things got complicated. We sit in silence for a moment, watching people come and go from the courthouse. Regular people dealing with regular problems, divorces, custody disputes, small claims, the mundane machinery of human failure. What happens now? She asks. I don't know. Are you going to keep doing what you've been doing? I think about Ray's warnings, about Evan's concern, about the choice I'm facing. I don't know, I say again. Joel, I know I have no right to ask this, but could you find it in yourself to forgive me? Not to take me back. I know that's not possible. But just forgive me? I look at her, really look at her, and for a moment I see the woman I married. The woman who used to laugh at my jokes, who used to curl up next to me on Sunday mornings, who used to make me feel like I was worth something. Then I see the black dress, the hotel room, the lies, the stolen money, and that woman disappears again. I can't, I tell her. I'm sorry, but I can't. She nods like she expected that answer. I understand. Rina? Yeah? For what it's worth, I hope you figure out how to be happy. Really happy, not just the fake kind you were chasing with Evan. Thank you. She stands up and walks away, and I know it's the last real conversation we'll ever have. I sit on the courthouse steps for another few minutes, thinking about choices and consequences, about revenge and justice, about the difference between winning and being right. Then I pull out my phone and call Mrs. Gertz. Hello, dear. How did the hearing go? It went fine, Mrs. Gertz, but I need to ask you a favor. Of course. I need you to stop the information distribution about Rina. No more reports, no more updates, no more neighborhood intelligence. Are you sure, dear? I have some very interesting information about that pharmaceutical fellow. I'm sure. It's time to let it go. There's a pause. Then, you're a good man, Joel. Your father would be proud. After I hang up, I call Mick and tell him I'm taking the rest of the day off. Then I drive home to my empty house and sit in my living room, surrounded by the remnants of a marriage that no longer exists. My phone rings. It's Patricia Hoffman. Mr. Carver, I wanted to update you on our investigation. We've completed our review of Mrs. Carver's expense reports. And? We found evidence of fraudulent charges totaling nearly $4,000 over a 6-month period. We've terminated her employment and referred the matter to law enforcement for possible prosecution. I see. I wanted to thank you again for bringing this to our attention. Corporate fraud is a serious matter, and we appreciate your civic responsibility. After she hangs up, I sit in the quiet house and think about what I've accomplished. Rina has lost her job, her reputation, her marriage, and possibly her freedom if the district attorney decides to prosecute. Evan has learned a hard lesson about the consequences of adultery. Everyone in town knows the truth about what happened. I've gotten everything I wanted. So why don't I feel better? The answer comes to me slowly. Like a sunrise you don't notice until the room is suddenly full of light. Because revenge isn't about making yourself feel better. It's about making someone else feel worse. And making someone else feel worse doesn't heal the hurt inside you. It just gives you something else to carry. I think about Rina sitting on those courthouse steps, crying real tears for the first time in months. I think about the woman I married, the woman who got lost somewhere along the way, the woman who made terrible choices and is now paying a terrible price. I think about the man I used to be, before anger and hurt turned me into someone who could systematically destroy another person's life and call it justice. Maybe Ray was right. Maybe revenge does consume the people who pursue it. But it's too late to change course now. The engine is flooded, the damage is done, and all that's left is to live with the consequences. I walk to the kitchen and open a beer, then toast the empty room. To clean breaks and dirty secrets, I say, echoing the words I spoke at Murphy's a lifetime ago. Outside, the sun is setting on a day that changed everything and nothing. Rina is gone, her life in ruins. I'm alone in a house that feels more like a tomb than a home. I got my revenge. I won. So why does it feel so much like losing? The phone rings one more time. Unknown number. Joel Carver. Mr. Carver, this is Detective Sarah Martinez with the District Attorney's Office. I'd like to speak with you about the fraud case involving your wife. What do you need to know? We're considering filing charges, but we'd like to get your input on whether you want to pursue this matter. I think about Rina on the courthouse steps, about forgiveness and second chances, about the difference between justice and revenge. No, I say finally. I don't want to pursue it. Are you sure? This is a clear case of corporate fraud? I'm sure. She's lost her job, her reputation, her marriage. That's enough. Mr. Carver, I have to ask, are you declining to cooperate because you're hoping to reconcile with your wife? No, I'm declining because revenge is a luxury I can't afford anymore. After I hang up, I sit in my kitchen and finish my beer as darkness settles over the house. Somewhere across town, Rina is probably sitting in her small apartment, wondering what comes next. Somewhere else, Evan is probably trying to repair his own marriage, his own life. And here I am, alone in a house that used to be a home, surrounded by the wreckage of a marriage that used to mean everything to me. I got my revenge. I made them pay for what they did to me. But in the end, the last bill was mine to pay after all.